Hi, everyone. Welcome to Best Fit USA. Best Fit USA is the initiative by the US Embassy, American Center in Moscow, and EducationUSA Russia that is aimed at helping Russian students familiarize themselves with the different types of colleges and universities in the American education system and helping them choose the best fit for them. 4 times a year, a panel discussion, a panel of 3 experts of college admissions will meet and talk about and compare the different types of higher education institutions in the American system. And we hope that this will help our listeners, our Russian audience, to choose the type that they are a best match for and where they will feel most comfortable. Each online event will feature 3 types of colleges: a community college, a liberal arts college, and a research university. And we will compare and discuss these types. Today is our second panel discussion of the series, and I would like to introduce our speakers. Katie Cross. Please welcome Katie Cross, who is the coordinator of international student services with the College of the Albemarle, which is a community college. Hi, Katie.
Hello.
Please welcome Adam Sapp, who is the assistant vice president and director of admissions at Pomona College, which is a liberal arts college. Hi, Adam.
Good morning.
And finally, Shabir Hussein Amirali, who is the Director of Graduate Admissions and Enrollment Management with the University of Louisville, which is a state-funded research university. Hi, Shabir.
Good evening to everyone, and good morning to my colleagues here.
Good evening, good morning, yes, wherever you are. Hi, everyone. And my name is Irina Lutsenko. I am your moderator today. I'm a teacher of English as a foreign language and a proud Fulbright alumna. So in the first part of the panel discussion, we are going to talk about the different types of institutions presented today. And in the last part of the discussion, we are going to have a short Q&A session. So feel free to send in your questions on whatever platform you're watching us on, and we will try to answer them at the end of the session. Okay, so I think we're all set and ready to start. So why don't we start from community colleges? And Katie, my first question is to you. Community colleges are often called the hidden gem of the American education. What is a community college and why is this the case? Why are they called a hidden gem of the American education?
Very good question. I think one of the first things before we even talk about why the community college is the hidden gem, I think it's important to understand a bit about the educational system and the educational structure in the United States. There are a number of ways that students can get a bachelor's degree in the United States. We often refer to a bachelor's degree as a 4-year degree, even though sometimes it may take students a little bit more or a little bit less to complete the 4-year degree. So in the United States, students can go right from their high school experience to a 4-year university or college, or students have the option to spend their first 2 years at a community college where they do their general education courses and they complete an associate's degree at that level. And then from there, they then would transfer to a university to complete their final 2 years and get a bachelor's degree. We oftentimes call that a 2+2. They spend 2 years at a community college and 2 years at a university. So kind of back to your first question, or why is it considered a hidden gem? I think one of the reasons is a lot of students aren't aware of that option. They aren't aware of the fact that you can start at a community college and then go to a university. But more importantly, I think it's considered a hidden gem because community colleges offer education at a much lower cost. Students can save thousands of dollars. Because they're cheaper, they're a great deal for American students and for international students. Class sizes are smaller, yet they also are taught by qualified faculty. And then the focus is on teaching. They're also considered a hidden gem because community colleges offer programs that are not just help students transfer to a university, but also offer programs and majors for students who want to go into a career that don't require a bachelor's degree. So for example, many of the health sciences field in the United States don't require a 4-year degree. So the community college becomes a great option for those students.
Right, thank you. You started talking about some jobs that might be available, for example, in health, right? In health sciences. What other jobs are available to community college graduates who only complete the 2 years?
So in addition to students transferring, students can go into really any kind of field that doesn't require that 4-year degree. So the health sciences, community colleges also prepare students to go into entry-level careers or entry-level positions in the business, the industrial, the medical assistance or personal care. So we'll have students who will, most of our students will either go into the health science field, a business or industrial field, or what we call career and technical education fields. So fields such as welding or heating and air conditioning, things that don't require the 4-year degree, but then also are very lucrative financially.
Right, good. And can you tell us a little bit more about the opportunities for students to continue their education after graduating from a community college?
Yeah, sure. So most of the community colleges in the United States are what we call open door, which that means that the mission of the community college is to educate our community or educate the students who attend our schools. So everyone who graduates from high school is allowed to enter community college. And what we do is we help you figure out either number one, do you have skills that need to be developed? So some of our students who possibly graduate from high school, maybe they need to further develop their English skills, or maybe they need to further develop their math skills. So the community college system will help students get prepared to go to the university. And then at the same side, we also have very, very highly qualified students who come to the community college to save that money, because they can get the first 2 years done at a cheaper cost. So the flexibility that exists within the community college is pretty broad. Most of our students who have a desire to go to the university will do one of our programs that literally transfers directly to the university and completes the requirements of that university. So one of the things we do as a staff is we help students figure out, number one, what level or do they have skills that need to be developed further? Where are they educationally? Do they need to develop certain skills so that they can get prepared to go to their university? And then two, we also help students who maybe didn't get into the university they wanted to get into their first choice. So they can come to the community college, they can better their grades, they can better their preparedness, and then transfer showing the university that they've done college work prior to. And so then that makes them more attractive to a university because they've shown the university that they can do college level work at a certain capacity.
So it might be easier for some students to get admitted to a university after a community college rather than straight after high school.
Yes, yes, very much so. So we've had students at the school I work at right now, we've had students transfer to Yale, to Smith College, to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. We've had students transfer to Mount Holyoke. So we have a wide variety of schools that our students attend, the small liberal arts colleges, the larger state universities. They get it gives students a little bit more time to figure out where they want to go. And while they're doing that, they're still heading towards the path that they want, which is a university degree, and they're doing it at a cheaper cost.
Right. Can you tell us a little bit more? You mentioned open door, which is anyone is admitted. Anyone who wants to get admitted is admitted?
Yes. So in the United States, an open door community colleges, really most of our community colleges are open door. We take it as our mission is to educate students and get our communities prepared for whatever educational opportunity that they want. And so because of that, we don't have the competitive admissions processes that universities do. We will take students that are extremely high achieving, who maybe because they want to save money, or because they want to have a smaller class size, or because maybe they didn't get into their first choice university, or because a lot of our students, our American students, want to stay closer to home, they will go to the community college route. But then we also have students who maybe aren't prepared educationally to go to the university that they want to go to. So maybe they didn't get the grades they wanted to get, or maybe they need a little bit more help with their math or their English or whatever it may be. They can come to the community college and get prepared and get better, educational background and foundation to then go to the university. So it's very wide reasoning why students come to the community college. Some to get that developmental and some to save the money. So there's a lot of reasons, but the open door makes it so that anybody can come. You don't have to have certain criteria other than you had to have graduated from high school.
Okay. It's a little bit hard for me to wrap my head around this. Like there are no exams, no.
Well, that's just to get in. So once you take the classes, you still have your exams and you have your tests and you have the rigor of the course. But to be admitted, you apply to the college, you prove that you graduated from high school, and then you're admitted to the college. Then we'll determine what level to start you at. Do we start you at the college level of English and the college level of math? Or do you need some remediation or some developmental skills? So perhaps you come in where your English language is great, but your comprehension and your writing skills aren't as strong. So you may need a little bit of remediation or a little bit of help. So instead of starting right at the college level, where you would start at typical university, we may remediate you or give you some developmental skills so that when you get to that university level course or that college level course, even at our school, you're prepared. And then once they start to take our classes, which, you would take the 2 years, those are typical, the same courses that would be offered at any university. So you would have your tests, your exams, your papers, your projects.
Thank you. Wow, that sounds really good. And it does sound like it's a hidden gem.
Very much so.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was insightful. I think me certainly and our audiences definitely have a much better understanding of what a community college is. Thank you. Perfect. Now, why don't we move on to talk about liberal arts colleges? Adam, can you introduce us to the concept of the liberal arts? What is that? Is that about art? What kind of education is that?
Yeah, good question. So I think as Katie really well articulated, the system in the US is really designed around making sure that a diversity of institutions exist in order to educate a wide range and wide diversity of students who are on various paths in their educational journey. So we often say in the US, there are sort of traditional college students and non-traditional college students, but the reality is the largest percentage of students in the US are what we would call non-traditional. If you look at the numbers, they're adult learners or they're students who are not 18 to 22. And for the most part, when you look at American higher education, there are many, many ways to move through the system and get maybe a 2-year or a 4-year or beyond. In 6, 7, 8, 9, it can go quite far if you want to get a PhD in terms of the total years of higher education in the US. Liberal arts colleges educate about 4% of students in American higher education, but the actual curriculum itself is much more common and much more widely distributed throughout higher education. And so when we say liberal arts college, we usually mean a couple of things in the United States specifically, and that is usually that we're smaller in terms of population. So an average liberal arts college total enrollment might be anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500 or so, which is definitely not the enrollment that Shabir and Katie have. They're much larger in terms of population size. And they generally are residential, though not always, meaning students live on campus or around campus. The majority of students, they're highly residential. And they offer a broad range of majors and academic programs that require you to take courses that are widely distributed throughout the curriculum. So for example, at Pomona, we divide knowledge into 3 areas. essentially the natural sciences, which is something like physics or mathematics or chemistry, the arts and humanities, so that might be English or philosophy or religious studies, and the social sciences. So that would be maybe anthropology, history, economics. And the idea is that when you're in a liberal arts curriculum, you have a major, which is about a third of your courses. You generally have some electives, which are sort of free courses that you can kind of decide where to spend that time. And then you have usually some kind of a liberal arts program or core or requirement. Not all. Some colleges, very famous schools like Brown or Amherst, they have what's called an open curriculum. Other colleges have a much more prescriptive curriculum, or maybe a great books style curriculum, like perhaps at St. John's or at Columbia or Chicago. And so these are liberal arts programs in terms of the academic philosophy, but sometimes the liberal arts is not always housed inside of a liberal arts college. Sometimes it might be part of a larger research university. They have a liberal arts college within the larger research university. So it can get a little confusing, I will say, because the liberal arts is both a curriculum and a type of school. And so what I work at Pomona is a liberal arts college. And, one of the things I realized as I was talking here is I have a very bad background, so I'll change that. This actually gives you a shot of the liberal arts college, right? And so we are in Los Angeles. We're spread over about, several acres of land, but everything is housed in that one space. And so at Pomona, the liberal arts it's a very classic kind of liberal arts college in the sense that we have lots of students studying lots of things. Most students have a major and a minor. Some students have double majors. 50% of students study abroad, which is also very common in liberal arts colleges. High percentages of students study abroad. At public universities in the United States, on average, 10 to 15% of students study abroad. At liberal arts colleges in the United States, roughly 50%, anywhere from 40 to 55% of students study abroad. So there are some cultures within liberal arts colleges that might help sort of suggest what kind of behaviors you might engage in or practices you might engage in once you're a student at a liberal arts college. That might be one way to think about fit vis-a-vis what it is you're looking for in a college.
Can you give us more examples? So studying abroad is one example of this culture. Can you give us more examples?
Sure. So the first is just around the idea of residency. So when everybody lives on campus, at Pomona, almost 100% of students, about 96-7% of students live on campus. That is very common at a liberal arts college. And so extracurricular activities, life with clubs and organizations is very intense. Many things are offered. You have lots of class and lots of clubs. You may not need a car at a liberal arts college, for example, because if you're living on campus, your food is taken care of in the dining hall, your healthcare is taken care of at the student health center, your extracurricular activities are just kind of, you walk on campus to go to meetings, your faculty are teaching small classes and are going to have office hours and research support. There's going to be lots of things that you need inside of that community. So what we call these high impact practices, things like internships and research and faculty connection and relationships with peers and the ability to study broadly according to your passions and interests, those are in some ways very common at a liberal arts college, but they also happen at other places, at community colleges and research universities too. They might just look a little different.
Right. And you were talking, I was thinking, that's a dream come true. That must be paradise. Can you talk a little bit about common career paths or jobs that students pursue after graduating?
Yeah, so as Katie talked about with that 2-year degree, so we often take in students who are leaving their high school, or ending high school and starting university for the first time. We also do take in community college students who are finishing that 2-year degree and who are seeking their bachelor's degree. So we have several different students who are sort of motivated differently or might be on different paths. They're all, regardless of when they start, going to end with that bachelor's degree. So liberal arts colleges, for the most part, there's a few exceptions, but for the most part, they grant bachelor's degrees, which is the 4-year degree. You can do a lot of things with a bachelor's degree in the United States and abroad. Sometimes it depends on your field, particularly if you are an international student and you want to stay in the United States. There are some rules around certain degrees and majors that might give you perhaps more time in the US or less. And so you might think about that if being in the US after university is something you're interested in. But for the most part, a bachelor's degree is a kind of an entry-level degree to be able to start almost any career. And so if you want to go into finance or you want to go into a research position, or you want to go even into some areas where you might need an advanced degree, but you could do the sort of entry-level work like a paralegal in a law firm before you go to law school, or maybe you're a business associate or an analyst at an investment firm because you want to get your MBA eventually and be head of finance for the company. There's lots of ways you can use that bachelor's degree, but a lot of liberal arts students go on to get more education. So many liberal arts students, and Pomona is a good example, 85% of Pomona students go on to get more education within 10 years. And so what we're really preparing you for is not just a job right after college, which about 60% of our students go directly into the workforce. We're also preparing you for that next degree. Maybe it's a law degree or a business degree or a PhD, or maybe you want to go to medical school, or you want to become a journalist, or you want to be a pharmacist, or there's lots of paths, and that bachelor's degree is often that required degree to get you to that professional school, which is very common in the United States.
Can you clarify this a little bit? I got this kind of feeling that it's very good for creative people. Is that true? Will creative students thrive in liberal arts colleges?
Yeah, I mean, I think a certain level of creativity is important for success. I mean, if creativity is imagining things that are not possible, or if creativity is making connections that others may not have thought of, I don't think liberal arts colleges have an exclusive monopoly on that. I mean, I think you can do that at lots of places, community colleges, research universities. But I think one of the things that we like to talk about at a liberal arts college is not necessarily just that you're going to have professors who know how to teach you, who have PhDs, who are really dedicated to your learning, but you've got really, really incredible peers. And so I like to say, and there's a lot of academic research on this actually, that says that peer learning is actually a really important part of any university experience. And so it's not just about who you are, it's also about who your friends are. And one of the things that we like to say at liberal arts colleges, and again, because we're residential and because we form community in a certain way, is that time with your peers, that time developing as a young person alongside other really interesting, bright, smart young people, that leads you to be a little more creative, a little more connection oriented, because you're in this environment where everybody else is doing that. So you tend to behave similarly.
Right, and the sense of community must be really small and vibrant. Yeah, it sounds really, really good. Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to talk about large state-supported research universities. Shabir, over to you. What kind of majors do state universities offer? What kind of academic programs do they offer?
Thank you, Irina. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Katie. You just give me, launch pad, I would say. Starting with what you said from your previous question, I was so intrigued and I wanted to answer quickly, but I wanted to wait for Adam to finish. When you say creativity, people go with the name liberal arts. They immediately think it's only linked with arts. Right. So liberal arts education is nothing but, the basic fundamentals of art, science, literature, sociology, psychology, and everything. So when you say creativity equals innovation equals entrepreneurship, that's what US is looking forward for. If you take something and change it based on the creativity and make it an innovation thing and try to bring it to people who needs it, then what happens? They become entrepreneur, right? That's what the US wants. That's how the education system works here. When Katie said from community college to liberal education to R1 research institution. We have R1, R2, R3 research institution. As an example, I come from an R1, University of Louisville is an R1 research institution, a public university. It's a large, when we say large, because it's based on the numbers, and different people have different definition for the large size, we call it. So I'm just going to give an example. If it's between 3,000 to 9,000, they might call it mid-size. 9,000 and above, they might call us large, or they can even call in between those sizes. Anything more than 20,000 is called large size public institutions. So what do we have? Example, let's take my university as an example. So we have 12 colleges, which includes 3 professional colleges. We have medical college, we have dental college, we have law college. For example, as Adam said, if one of the student finishes 2 years in community college and they go to the, from KT, they go to Adams College and finish 4-year pre-med, and then they say, I want to medical school. You have University of Louisville Medical School. You can see the link we all 3 carry here. So the large public institutions have a comprehensive academic section for the students to choose. As I said, we have 12. We have public health. We have Kent School of, we have Kent School of Public Health. We have social work. So many schools. We have engineering, education, nursing, music. So the large comprehensive public institutions have all those programs. Some public institutions might be only focusing on technology. Some public institution might be only focusing on literature as their, brand. So there are different public institutions. So it's a student's passion and its students' career path, which they choose, make them unique to those public institutions. As I said, there are various different career opportunities for them. A student can come here into a liberal arts, become a clinical psychologist. A student can come here into engineering, can go into aerospace engineering or a chemical engineering. A student can come into as a educationist and become a superintendent or a teacher or a faculty. There are various different pathways which a public institutions offers. That's how we are big, large. It's not only based on the size of the student population, also size of the programs we offer.
So you offer a wider variety of programs?
Absolutely. For example, we offer more than 150 programs in University of Louisville. So if you take any public institution which is large, we're not talking mid-size or small, they offer as much as comprehensive programs the student can choose from. Some students come with, as Katie and Adam says, they don't have a defined plan. What program should I go in? They choose, into liberal arts. Then they say, okay, that's not my plan. I want to go into nursing, and they go into nursing. Or that's not my plan. I want to go into engineering. They go into engineering. Absolutely. So we offer wide variety of career paths based on the programs the students are going to choose from.
And is there a lot of flexibility so students can switch majors if they decide to pursue a different career?
Absolutely. I'm going to give you an example of my own student who works in our office. The student came in liberal arts, then suddenly student thought, I want to be in nursing. And they went to the academic advisor. They looked into the programs and courses and they said, okay, you want to go into nursing? Yes, you need to go. But however, you need to take, these are the courses which you're missing to go into nursing major. And suddenly the students, after a semester, they thought like, okay, no, I want to be a physician assistant. So they went back to the advisor saying, I want to go into physician assistant. What am I? They said, you have taken many courses. Probably these are the 2 you're missing. And after 6 months, the student said, where do I go? I don't know. Then they came back to biology and say, I'm good at lab. I love biology. I want to go. They went to the advisor. They said, you have completed as many courses as you have completed. You're only missing is the lab courses. Why don't you take this lab courses, and which will lead you to the biology, and you have accelerated biology program where you can do 4+1. So you can get a bachelor's and master's. You can see the students around. However, as Adam and Katie says, it's not going to be 4 years. Then normally if they change gears, sometimes it might take an extra semesters. If they change programs, if they change very specific narrow down programs, if they don't have those specializations, if they have not done the core foundational general education courses, which is required for the program, then they might take an extra semester, sometimes in a year, sometimes 2 years, based on which career path they want to choose. That's why we wanted to give as many options to the students to choose from, and so that they can choose, as okay, where do I fit? Also, there is huge student success. Academic advisors in University of Louisville, as many public institutions, we normally support the students to make sure that we help them and guide them. We don't want to make sure that, okay, this is what you want to going to do, but we say, what do you want to do after 4 years? We normally call it as 4 years, but normally after your graduation, what do you want to do? so that the student can plan and give us saying, okay, this student has like 3 options. You can see as an example. Now the student like, I don't know what to do, because they become undecided, because they see their friends, their families, and they want to choose a career. But finally, when the student end up after 2.5-3 years, and the person says, no, I want to go into biology, which captures nursing part, which captures large part, which also captures physician. In future, if I want to go to doctoral degree, like take an MCAT and go into medical school, I can go. If I want a physician assistant, I can go. They wanted to make sure that they go into this program. So there are a variety of opportunities for students.
Sounds really, really good. And you mentioned that the body population is really, really large. What are the advantages to that?
Diverse population, intellectuality, diverse student groups, diverse activities, so the student gets more opportunity to work with different kind of people, different population, different faculty, so strong support groups, more organizations for them to work and increase their knowledge intellectually. And also not only that, just think about the people who graduated previously. So there's a huge body of alumni who graduated, the large body. So the career opportunities are high as well.
Okay. Thank you. Sounds really, really good. Okay, thank you. Now I think we have a much better understanding of what each institution type represents and what it's like. Now let's talk a little bit about the student. Can you talk a little bit about, and this is my question to everyone, maybe a perfect portfolio or a perfect background of a person who wants to apply to your type of college? What should they pay attention to? Maybe what materials would support their application? What would strengthen their application?
I'm going to start and I'm going to pass it on to Katie and Adam, because I want to make sure that each school has that unique set of applicant. Okay. And normally the students select the school and the school select the students. It's both ways, actually. That's why if you see any student apply, an international student apply, they go between 3 to 10 schools, but they always go between, in their mind, they apply for more so that they can get more admissions, but they normally go between, they start with 3 to 5 schools where if I get in, I'm going to make sure that I have an opportunity. So most of the schools currently with COVID, pre-COVID, were slowly changing into making standardized test optional, or looking into application as a whole as a student, not as like, I only want a GPA of 4 and above, or I just wanted ACT score of 36 or an SAT score of 1560. It's not that. They have started making a holistic process of looking student as a whole. What is their GPA? Because they need to have graduated from an undergraduate degree or a high school, because they need to have the basic foundation. Do they have leadership and civic and community? Do they have good recommendation because they did this activity? If they're athletes, do they have some good competitive results they have done in athletic program? If they are music students, do they have performed into their level? They're not expecting a national level student to come, so that means they'll only have few students to select from. So there are challenges on those things. So there are line of parameters where the student has to be good, sometimes exceptional, but it's a holistic view of what we look into a student as a whole. But there are different criteria based on financial fundings and other models. I'm now going back to give it to Adam, talking about how they look into students.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go because I think Katie might have a slightly different take on some of this, but I would agree with Shabir. I think one of the things we're looking for in applicants is that they have completed that high school education, whatever that curriculum is. For some of you, it might be a public school curriculum, a traditional Russian curriculum. For others of you, it might be an international curriculum. Maybe there's 11 years or 12 years, depending upon what the system is. After that, of course, we're also looking for that your interests align. And so as Shabir said, if you are someone who really wants to go into engineering, you should look at engineering programs or schools that can prepare you for an engineering program. That might not always mean they have to have an engineering major. We have plenty of engineers who are alums at Pomona who do 4 years of physics and then go on and get a PhD in engineering, and they're very successful engineers. So there is some thinking that you need to do about sort of professional careers, but what you should think more about is, what do I enjoy studying? What do I like to do? So for many of you, that's going to create a lot of access to a lot of different programs, because in the United States, the bachelor's degrees first, graduate degrees second, there's a variety of paths to get to your profession. It's not like in many countries where you start the professional school first. So you don't begin in law right after high school. You don't begin in medicine right after high school. That comes second. So there is time to explore. So think about that, but make sure you are primarily focused on high school. A strong, good high school experience is always going to prepare you for a university education in the United States. And success in high school gives you tools to be able to succeed at the university level.
Right. Thank you.
And we definitely have a different approach, because like Shabir said, a lot of times it's a match between, does the university pick the student and the student pick the university? Since we are that open door and you can come to any of the community college, really the onus then becomes on the student to decide, what kind of school do you want to go to if you want to go to the community college? The location matters. Do you want, my college is College of the Albemarle. We're in North Carolina. We're on the coast. Like, I'm about a mile from the beach. Is that attractive to you? Or do you want to go to a school more in the middle of the United States, or maybe on the West Coast? Do you want to go to a school? Community colleges can range in size from, you know, as large as Shabir's school is to a large, I mean, they can be as large as a university number wise, or they can be very small. So does that matter to you? And then also the community colleges give students time to figure out what their career goals might be. So maybe you have a very decided career goal and you know you want to go the 2+2, start at the community college and go to the university. Or maybe you're not sure. You don't know what you want to do, but you want to get started in the United States. And that's an option for you as well.
Right. Yeah, that does sound a little bit different. Can we talk a little bit about, Shabir mentioned the holistic approach. So apart from the test scores, can you give some specific examples of what else might strengthen an application? What else might be important?
I will start again, Irina. International student, most of the schools, even KT, there could be a different approach for KT schools, community college. Most of the time, if they are coming as a non-native English speakers, one of the basic international school requirement English proficiency. There are different kinds of English proficiency tests, and each school's listed in their websites. And each school has their own reason why they believe one particular or two particular scores are only towards the school, because they don't accept all scores. Some school might accept all scores. Some school might say, this is what our gold standards are. That's a basic. So that doesn't come under holistic admission. That's a requirement because you're coming into an English speaking country where your teaching, your classroom, your friends, your faculty, your conversations, your emails are going to be in English. So we just take English proficiency and we just keep that aside. And that doesn't make any sense on holistic because we talk about that. Right. But however, sometimes in undergraduate level, Adam is going to talk about that. Sometimes if a student has a strong SAT and ACT score and the English proficiency in those scores are good, they might, comparable with, the English proficiency test. That's totally different. When we take these two things away, the standardized test, a good recommendation letter, a good personal statement, certificates or activities for civic management, community impact. I try to, clean up the beach so that there is no waste. And we were trying to establish, not all the students might do it, but I was a part of a team. And I was able to establish a cultural community. That could be one. And an active participant. If you see international students who come to United States, most of them has done some kind of community engagement practice at their home countries. They might have done some leadership activities in their schools and in their community. They might have involved something or the other, 60 to 70% of the students they might have done. They know when they come into a new country, they need to practice those things. To make it an habit, they practice that at home. And parents also encourage that. Teachers and their students, when they go into their schools in their home country, they give that practice and experience to them. So those are the things: a good recommendation letters from their counselors and from the faculties, a good personal statement why they want to come into, or a statement of purpose we talk about, their involvement and the certificates. When we say, how do you show certificate? I can say that I did clean up the beach in KT's course, but I never been to that. So normally they get a certificate or something called an achievement, or someone recognize them saying, hey, you participated and you make sure that our environment is clean. Examples. those kind of things which is validated by your things, and then your courses you took, your GPA you got in your high school or in your undergraduate degree. That's really important as well. So this captures everything we said except the English proficiency, which stays a little bit. It's not a standardized test. People immediately think, why do I need English proficiency? That's not a standardized test. That is your proficiency to come. Example would be, if I need to come to Moscow and if I only know English or my mother tongue, then I'm not going to survive.
Right. It makes perfect sense. Yes, to have this. Yes.
And some countries like Germany, they normally, if people started working there within the 21 months or anything, they normally ask the employees making sure that they learn the basic German, language, so that when they get their emails or basic discussions, they want the students to gain those knowledge, or the faculty to gain the knowledge, or the employees to gain the knowledge. So that's a basic thing. So if you move away those English proficiency and see the holistic way what we require, those are the things we require. Is that right, Adam?
Yeah, and holistic review is how we review applications for admission. So this is again a distinction. Maybe Shabir and I are a little more aligned on this than Katie, where they're going to have a different process. And I did just look. There's about 1,000 community colleges in the United States. So when Katie says there's a wide diversity of community colleges, she is not kidding. That is a lot of different kinds of colleges. But at Pomona and also at Louisville and at places that use holistic review, this is a way of reviewing an application for admission. And I will just generally break this down in 2 areas. These are the questions I will give you as a student. The main sort of thrust of holistic review is that you divide the applicant into scholarship and citizenship, and that the questions we have are generally either ones of scholarship. How did you do in school? Do you have a favorite academic interest? Are you pursuing academic courses and succeeding in a way that supports success at the next level? And citizenship. Who are you in your school? Who are you in your community? Who are you in your family? Those are questions that are important to us as well. And so if you kind of think about those things, and let's be real, if you're in a high school in Russia and you're doing well, you probably have a lot of classes. You're spending a lot of time at school, and you don't have tons of extra time for all of these extracurricular activities. That's a little bit of an American-centric way of thinking about school. So we recognize that. We know our biases here. We still think that citizenship matters, but it might look very different for a student in Russia or a student in Europe or a student in South America, because schooling looks different in these places. And so when we're reviewing you holistically, we're looking at the whole person. We're looking at all the things that make you you. And that's really what we're trying to understand as we make decisions.
And this is really valuable advice, because you're absolutely right. We don't necessarily have the same culture in Russia in terms of speaking about community impact and volunteering. It's very, very important to take that into account. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So
I agree with what Adam said, Irina.
Yeah.
So going to giving back to Katie, I totally agree with that.
That's
most of the time we think about, the citizenship comes in all the countries.
Yeah.
In my home country as well, we don't have those activities. Students take more courses so that they want to have intellectual credits more and few of the community impact activities.
Yeah, that's
totally
very academic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Katie?
And one of the things that's kind of neat, at least my experience working with our international students at our colleges, that the community colleges give students that opportunity to experience that citizenship, that community or campus involvement activities that maybe they haven't had that experience and opportunity to be involved with in their home countries. And so they come here and they're able to get involved with our student government association, or they're able to get involved with a lot of our clubs and activities and give back to the communities that we live in, which then helps them when it comes time to go to that university to have that holistic approach. They have that holistic application, because not only are they bringing with them their culture from Russia, not only are you bringing the fact that you're going to bring that diversity to a university that's very valuable, because every university in the United States wants diversity. We want to have a diverse thought and diverse student population, but you're now also students now are able to separate themselves, because now they're meeting both sides. They're able to say, hey, listen, I'm a student that's an international student who can bring with me this culture, but look, I've experienced some of the American education system and I've done X, Y, and Z. And so we find at the community college, the students who are very involved, then become highly attractive to a lot of universities in the United States because they check a lot of boxes. They meet that academic rigor. They bring that cultural diversity. And then also then they've done a lot of things in the community and they think, oh, wow. So these are the students then that become extremely attractive to some of the top level universities in the United States.
So that's another advantage of going to community college. And that's another reason why it's a hidden gem.
Exactly.
Good. Yeah. Well, not so hidden anymore. We are learning the advantages. Thank you all so much. We now have a lot of questions from the audience. Let's have a look at the questions. So the first one is from Gubat. He says that some people say that community college is not open-minded about scholarships for international students. Is that true?
I think there is some truth to that. Most community colleges do not offer a lot of scholarships to incoming brand new community college students right from at least my school is that way. We don't offer it to students who are just admitted, but rather once a student's admitted, they're then able to apply for scholarships. But it's also important when a student's looking at a community college route to look at the state, because there are some very, very unusual state laws that exist. So for example, in the state of North Carolina, where I'm on the East Coast of the United States, we have a law in the state of North Carolina that allows community college students to get the same tuition rate as an American student who lives in North Carolina. So it's extremely cheap. So for example, a normal typical student who would be an out-of-state tuition, which is a whole nother probably thing within the United States, we charge people different rates or amounts of money based on where you live in the United States. So typically our international students can go to school for $1,000 a semester.
Oh.
Where an out-of-state American student from, let's say you were from Florida and they wanted to come to our school, they would pay $4,000 to go to school here a semester. Wow. So what happens for us is our students can pay $1,000 a semester. And then once they've been here for a semester, they can apply for scholarships internally. And most community colleges are that way. Once you're in the system, you can apply, but we don't offer scholarships coming into the system. And that's mostly because it's so much cheaper to go to a community college than it is to go to a university.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
We're already offering it at a discount. The education's already offered at a discount. So the scholarships, they want to make sure they reserve those for the students who qualify academically and who qualify either within that community service piece.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. I have a question here about the credits. So if Ekaterina asks, if I have a degree obtained in Russia, can I transfer my Russian college credits if I want to attend a US college? And are the requirements for credit transfer different for community colleges, liberal arts colleges, and research universities? That's a good
I
one.
would start the answer probably if Adam and Katie would happy with that. First question could be no. First question is no. Why? Because you need to have an articulation between the university the student studied, when you call articulation, or could be partnership, or could be relationship, or could be 2+2 agreements kind of things. First is no, if this university doesn't have any relationship with the institution they're applying for. Most of the time, the students, when they want to transfer credits, the school they normally go to where they have relationship, partnership, or a legal agreement between those institutions happens. When these kind of things happen, normally the curriculum is planned together. The institution knows I'm going to take, this student from this students from these programs, and these students have to complete these courses, which are equivalent to be offered in our school, which are equivalent. They're not going to be typically 100% matching, but the curriculum matches, right? Example, thermodynamics is same across everywhere.
Yeah.
So they're saying we are going to transfer a student from physics from Russia to physics from US, or physics from Russia to an engineering program to the US. They wanted to make sure that the curriculum, the practice, the lab, the work, the program of study should match. So they normally do in between a beginning of when they sign the contract. So when they do this, they normally accept that. In very, very few instances, a credit could be accepted, but there could be different school, different policies, different procedures, and it's very rare happens. And also, the challenge, one more thing, a Russian student might be studying in the Russian language, and here it's going to be the US, and it's again a challenge, not a barrier. So it could be yes, no for first answer, but there is a chance, as possibility, yes for it. But however, it should be making sure that the schools have an agreement, a collaboration, partnership, and what they have been agreed to. Because as a University of Louisville, we do have collaboration with other schools. When we bring students from different countries, when we have collaboration, we give value to the credits they take so that they don't have to take the prerequisites for the program they're going to go into. So we do value that. So that's question, no, but there's a possibility. But again, the student has to look into what kind of partnership does my university or my college or my institution has with other US schools, so that they have to choose those schools where those things exist. And it's an easy way to go into those programs.
Yeah,
and
perfect.
Adam, opening up to you to say the practices.
Well, I would just, because I think if I heard that correctly, and Arina, tell me if I'm wrong, if the student already has a bachelor's degree from a Russian university, would you recommend, Shabir, that instead they look at a different level of education, which maybe bachelor's level education isn't actually what you are looking for, perhaps a graduate program? And that's where Louisville could be very helpful, or schools like Louisville where you have an R1. You do accept foreign students who have degrees from foreign universities.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adam, for this point, because Irina's first question, whether we transfer. So that's the answer. Absolutely, Adam. Yes, if a student already has a bachelor's degree in Russia, they normally don't come to do here a bachelor's degree in the US. 90% of the time, I would say, I don't want to put that as a round figure, 90% of the time, they go to do a master's degree. And sometimes they might even say, okay, I have a 5 years bachelor's degree from Russia, and which I can do a doctoral degree in the universities in the US. There's a high chances like the master's, and there's another pathway called doctoral degrees. So the student shows they don't have to typically. However, if they say, I'm in the second year of my bachelor's degree, I want to go to a US institution, I want to go a bachelor's degree, will that be transferred? That again goes back to my answer beginning, the partnership, the collaboration. Absolutely right, Adam. It is important if they have already earned bachelor's degree, or they're in the final year of their bachelor's degree or final semester, they can really come into doing a master's degree or a doctoral degree in the University of Louisville or similar institutions.
Right. So we need, we would need more information here. What degrees we are talking about, what year we're talking about. Right. Katie, is there anything you would like to add?
I think the only thing that I would add is, we do have some students here at our community college who's actually completed their bachelor's degree in Russia, but most of those students are here because they have a desire to study a very specific area that may add on to their existing bachelor's degree. So for example, maybe they want to be sure that they have the experience in the United States so they can do a job that's with translation, and they want to make sure that they understand the culture and really work on their English reading and writing skills. And so they'll come in and they'll do a degree with us that allows them to focus on that. But those students aren't going to get credits transferred to our community college most likely, because our community college is going to have a very set structure of courses they need to take. And the likelihood of what they've done already in Russia transferring into the United States, it would require them to do an evaluation. And those evaluations generally do not result in students getting a lot of credits, because one, we're a community college, so we do just the basic first 2 years of education in the United States system. And oftentimes those credits are at a higher level and they would fit better with the university. And then every university, like Shabir and them have talked about, they're going to decide if a class by class would fit in with their curriculum, and that would require an evaluation. So it doesn't generally warrant. I encourage our students, unless they have a very specific reason that they're coming here, to do the master's degree level, to go that route versus restarting. Because once you start here, you're almost going to be then doing another bachelor's degree here if you want to complete all the way through. It would almost be better if you have those strong English language skills to go to that master's level.
The only thing I would add, and part of this is the person who asked the question might be thinking, so, what's it worth? What's my bachelor's degree worth then if I can't transfer the credit? My response would be, don't think about your bachelor's degree as transferable credit. Think about it as excellent preparation. So you are generally going to be more prepared than the average student in these situations because you have already achieved a level of higher education. Not every great university is in the United States. There's lots of wonderful universities around the world where you can get a bachelor's degree and be very, very prepared for that next level of whatever work that is, whether it's in the US or not. So congratulations to you for achieving that bachelor's degree. And I hope you use it, and because you're prepared to do that next thing that you want to do, regardless of the level that you choose to do it at.
I totally agree with you, Adam. Absolutely. And sometimes also question, Irina, it could be added. Sometimes students say, I have a 5 to 3 years work experience. Will that be added into my, education? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, based on the schools and policies. If some business schools will say yes, 3 years could be good, valuable so that they can come. That's one question. But when you say what is worth, we always say when we said the holistic admission process, you'd agree with me, in most of the Russian schools, all of them, the transcripts and the documents are in Russian language. So one of the thing which we might have said when we said holistic admission process, it's better for the student to make sure that have a credential evaluation done in a recognized third-party institution. There are so many, but recognized ones that could be really valuable for them to see what is my degree equivalent to in the United States. Should I need to do a thing? And that will really, going back to Adam's answer, not only worth, also gives an equivalency. Also, it converts into an English language. If they want to apply to any other English-speaking countries, there's a way that they could simply compare it and say, what are the courses I've done? And it's easy for them to communicate.
Right. Thank you. I think the reason behind this question is a lot of students are worried that they can't transition into a new field when they want to get their graduate degree, their master's degree, which is not, that's why they might think I need another bachelor's degree. But again, I think we need more information here. And sometimes it's possible to transition into a different area in your to get your graduate degree, right?
Absolutely. The challenge would be, just think about that. If a student has done a fine arts, example, a theater and arts, and they want to do a medical degree, or they want to do a lab microbiology, immunology, genetics, they don't have those basic foundations of doing lab work and things. Yes, they can choose. They showcase the skills, their high school, they have done lab work and everything. But the length of a graduate degree and the schools which they are choosing from, they might say, okay, I need this student, a diverse student. But instead of completing this master's degree in 2 years, eventually they cannot go into a doctoral degree immediately. It might be 3.5 years, because they need to do those pre-foundation, organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, microbiology, the biology lab, because what they're trying to do is you have a wonderful degree, but this degree does not translate to what you're trying to do. And yes, your gear. US and is very good at it when students change their path. That's one of the example I gave you in the beginning. It's really, but they have to show the passion. Why I'm changing this field? Why do I want to do? Many people do, science, they come into business. How did they change that? Because that's a link. Many people do business and they go to engineering. So there's a huge opportunity, but the time taken for an international student could be a little bit long, and they need to find a right institution which is ready to accept them. If they go to schools and they say, okay, you don't have a bachelor's degree in engineering, we're not going to accept, because the university policy wants those basic things. That's when the student's thinking, should I go to a community college for a year, take those basic foundation, physics, chemistry, and then transfer into a graduate program? Or should I need to do, again, a 4-year degree? Those are the answers on that.
Right. That's a very good question. And there are a lot of answers here because we would need to look in detail, right? Thank you. Well, we don't have much time left. Let's finish by, one most important piece of advice you would give to a student who wants to get admitted to your university or college. What is the most important thing students should do or think about?
I would go with Katie starting it, because she started it. I want Katie to start it, and then it goes to Adam, then me, so that they understand, hey, community college, then the liberal arts, and then the public. Absolutely.
I think for us, the first thing would do is to figure out and decide, is the community college, that option of that 2+2 works the best for you? To figure out, do you want to experience the university, that culture and community of the university from start? Or are you open to experiencing that culture and community of a culture and the community of a community college? So that would be the first thing. I would also say the other thing would be to figure out where in the United States you may want to start. Do you want to live in the East Coast, the West Coast, the middle of the country? Do you want to go to a really big school, a small school? And then also figure out, how is your academic preparedness? If you need a little bit of a refresher, if you're not comfortable jumping right into that university level, the community college is a great opportunity and a great experience. So my advice would be really spend some time figuring out what you want as a student. Because we ultimately want you to be happy, and we want you, because we know when you're happy, you're successful. We know when you're happy, you do great things in the school and you do great things academically, and you go back and you say wonderful things about your experience when you go back home. So think about what you want. And now that you know these options, figure out maybe what option works best for you.
Thank you. That's great advice, Adam.
Yeah, my advice was going to be very similar. You know, the Greek philosopher Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living. The best thing you can do is know yourself. And so remember, you're not being educated for other people. Your parents are going to have a lot of opinions. Your family are going to have a lot of opinions. Remember, it's your education, it's your career, it's your life. And so spend that time understanding who you are and how that relates to what you want to do. And then use that understanding of yourself to go forth and be successful. That is the easiest, quickest path to success in my life, in my opinion. And I think you will agree looking back on it. Education then becomes part of that, and that's what we hope you're thinking about as you're tuning in today.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely.
Probably I made a mistake making Katie and Adam go first because they stole all my words. But I would say 3 simple things the student should always think about. Keep the communication clear and simple, and make sure that each communication is answered. That they shouldn't say, "Oh, I did not read your email. I did not do." Second, time management is important. You need specific timelines, specific documents, specific things on specific dates. Make sure that I'm on top of it because I'm choosing a career as a passion for a long term. Do that. Communication, time management. And the biggest challenge for students is procrastination. I would say put the procrastination under the pillow, sleep on it, and make sure that you're successful on what is your plan, your passion, the university you're choosing from. You're going to be successful in your career and your education.
Perfect. This is wonderful, wonderful advice from all of you. Thank you so much. Katie, Adam, Shabir, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for this insightful, absolutely insightful, valuable discussion, valuable tips. And I hope our audience now have a much, much, much better understanding what type of institution might be the best fit for them. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye. Bye.